Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm Carly Gardner. I'm the Assistant Dean of Admissions here at Delaware Law School. I want to welcome you to tonight's Accepted Applicant event. I'm also joined here by our new Director of Admissions, Steve Faduk, and our Admissions Counselor, Heather Hope Caravilla. Some of you may have worked with them already, but they are here to help me facilitate this conversation tonight. As you know, March is Accepted Applicant Month. We do a mix of virtual and in-person experiences so that you get a better sense of what we're all about here at Delaware Law and why you belong here. You can learn more about all of the events this month, all the experiences and opportunities by visiting our Accepted Applicant Events page. That's on our website. We can put that link in the chat, certainly, so that you can make sure that you don't miss anything. Tonight's event is focused on practical learning opportunities here at Delaware Law, and I am thrilled to be joined tonight by our wonderful faculty and students who are going to share some really great information and perspectives on the opportunities here at Delaware Law School. We're going to follow up their presentation with Q&A so that we can make sure we get all your questions answered. In addition to my role in the admissions office, I am also a very proud Delaware Law alum and former litigator. So the focus of tonight's event is really near and dear to my heart. I truly believe in the power of practical learning opportunities here at Delaware Law School because those opportunities have directly contributed to my success as an attorney. So really happy to be with you here tonight for this particular topic because when we say we produce practice-ready graduates, we really truly mean it. And I think you're going to see why in a few minutes here. So I hope you walk away from tonight's session with a better understanding of the importance of these practical skills opportunities. I want you to understand the possibilities that are here to get skills training. And I want you to see how those experiences are going to help prepare you for your successful career. We're joined here tonight by Dana Harrington Connors. She is the Associate Dean of Experiential Learning and Professor of Law. And we're also joined by Kathy Zwolak Kilian, who is an associate professor, director of our Public Interest Resource Center, and director of our Delaware Civil Law Clinic. We're also joined here by several of our current students who are going to introduce themselves in a minute here. And like I said, after our presentation, I'll open things up to Q&A. At that point, if you want to put your questions in the chat or you want to use the raise hand function on Zoom, or you just want to unmute and jump in and ask your question, we'll welcome you to do that toward the end of the program, like I said, after these presentations from our wonderful students. So with that, I don't want to take up any more time and I will pass it over to Dean Harrington Connor.
Welcome, everyone, and congratulations to be admitted to Delaware Law School. We are so excited to speak to you tonight. So as Dean Gardner said, I am the new Dean of Experiential Learning. I'm Dana Harrington Connor. I'm a professor at the law school for a very long time, and I am also a proud alum of Delaware Law School. I graduated back in 1992. I took a clinic when I was at law school. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well as other experiential learning opportunities. But I'm going to go ahead and let everyone else introduce themselves. So I'm going to turn it over to Professor Zwolak Kilian, and then the students are also going to introduce themselves, and then we're going to swing back to me to talk a little bit about experiential learning.
Thank you, Dana. Welcome, everyone, and congratulations. So I'm Professor Kathy Zwolak Kilian. People call me Professor ZK, a little easier. And I am also a proud alumni, 2003 of the Delaware Law School, was in the Delaware Civil Law Clinic, which I'm now the director of. I'm also the director of the Public Interest Resource Center, which handles all the pro bono work that students engage in. And then I teach mainly professional responsibility, so ethics in the law. So welcome, excited to talk with all of you.
Erica.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erica. I'm a third-year law student here at Delaware Law, and I'm currently in the judicial externship program, and I have been since this past August.
Matthew.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew. I'm a 3-year law student here at the school as well. I was in the school's criminal defense clinic, and I'm currently in the school's Inside Out program.
Christina.
Hey everyone, my name is Christina. I am a 3L here currently, and I was in the Veterans Law Clinic and the Inside Out program as well.
Dalmari.
Hi everyone, my name is Dalmiri. I'm a 3rd-year law student. I am here in my capacity for the Public Interest Resource Center and my pro bono work, but I was also a judicial extern at the Delaware Superior Court.
So we're very excited. You'll be hearing from all of them in just a little while, but Dean Gardner is going to put up a visual for you so that I can introduce you to both our clinics and our externship opportunities at the law school, just very briefly, and then talk a little bit about the learning experiences for students when they're working in either a clinic or a or a judicial externship. So Carly, if you could put that up there, and if you could advance to slide 2, I'm going to give everyone a overview of our in-house clinics. And so I'm very excited to tell you that we now have 8 in-house clinics at the law school. And this is brand new. We had 6 clinics and we now have 8 just within the last couple of weeks. So I just want to tell you a little bit about each of them, and then I'm going to talk about externships. So the first one is the Delaware Civil Law Clinic that Professor Zwolak Kilian told you a little bit about, and she's the director of. That clinic represents survivors of domestic violence who are seeking protection from abuse orders, as well as enforcements of those orders, as well as other legal matters. Students are admitted to the limited practice of law when they're representing clients in that particular clinic. We also have now 2 Dignity Rights Clinic. One is a non-representational clinic. It's called the Dignity Rights Advocacy Clinic. And students in that clinic partner with other organizations to ensure human dignity. The most recent, or one of the most recent matters that they handled, was prisoners' rights issues in the state of Delaware. We now have a brand new Dignity Rights Representational Clinic, and it will run for the first time in the fall semester of this coming academic year. Those students will be working closely with Delaware ACLU to represent individuals in human dignity rights high impact cases. We also have the Environmental and Natural Resources Clinic at the law school, and students in that particular clinic represent both individuals as well as organizations when they are facing environmental issues. And again, they handle very high impact cases in the tri-state area and beyond. We have the Innocence Delaware Law Clinic, and students in that particular clinic work with attorneys who are representing individuals who have been wrongly accused and convicted of crimes and are currently incarcerated. And those are long-term, high-impact cases again. We have the Pennsylvania Criminal Defense Clinic, where students represent individuals who've been accused of misdemeanors in the state of Pennsylvania. The Veterans Law Clinic, where students represent both veterans and their dependents. And they handle a variety of cases, and we have a student here that's going to talk a little bit about that, both veterans benefits cases as well as some other legal matters, depending on the requests from individuals within the state of Delaware and Pennsylvania who are seeking legal assistance. And then we have a brand new Wills for Seniors clinic that will run for the first time in the fall semester of 2025. And in that clinic, students will assist both seniors and the terminally ill who are seeking help with the drafting of wills, powers of attorney, and healthcare directives. So Dean Gardner, could you advance the slide? Because I want to talk a little bit about externships at the law school. So we have a variety of opportunities, and I would say probably an unlimited number of opportunities in the externship area. So where students are working with either full-time faculty and adjuncts in our clinics that I just talked about, in the externship world, students are partnered with individuals outside the state, whether they are judges or attorneys who are willing to work with and supervise students who are having these experiences outside of the law school. But don't worry, you also have a faculty member, and that's me, who will work with you in-house and teach your seminar and mentor you. Erica is going to talk a little bit about that in terms of a judicial externship that she has been experiencing this year. So I wanted to highlight a couple of different opportunities as it relates to judicial externships, and one of them is our Walcott and Judge Reed fellowships. So there are 10 Walcott fellows that have been selected for next academic year. We used to have about 5 spots. We moved to 7 opportunities, and now we have 10 opportunities here at the law school where students will have full year placements with either the Delaware Supreme Court or the Delaware Court of Chancery as a Walcott Fellow. They'll receive a scholarship and academic credit to work in those experiences. And we also have the Reed Fellowship, where a student will work with Judge Reed in the federal court. And that is also now a scholarship and academic credit for one student who is selected to work with our Honorable Judge Reed. We also have unlimited other judicial externships for students to experience while they're here in law school. And those can be either one semester or full year placements with judges in the tri-state area and beyond in both state and federal court. And so there are lots of experiences in that area that you could get involved in while you're here at Delaware Law School. In addition to that, we have public interest externships where students can work with public interest agencies throughout the tri-state area and again beyond, depending on your interest and depending on the location of those organizations, because our students are required to work in person when they're having these experiences. So some of the examples I have listed here on the slide, but they are just a few examples, and there really are unlimited opportunities. You could work with the Office of Child Advocate, a prosecutor's office, a Office of Defense Services or Public Defender's office, a community legal aid organization, or other nonprofit that provides legal representation or legal services to individuals who could otherwise not afford that representation. And then finally, Carly, if you could advance to the third slide, I'd just like to talk a little bit about the responsibilities and opportunities that students have when they are either engaging in a clinic or an externship opportunity. And so for clinics and public interest externships, students do a variety of tasks. Some are admitted to the practice of law, limited practice of law, and others are not admitted, so they may not handle court cases, but they still build their skills and handle representational matters, but maybe not to the extent of trying a case. So for that, clients are interviewed by students as well as other witnesses. Students will marshal evidence and evaluate legal claims. They will investigate cases, draft motions, and other pleadings while they are in a clinic or public interest externship experience. They may prepare for a trial or draft documents for litigation, whether that be opening statements, closing statements, direct examination, cross-examination for witnesses. Some students will have the opportunity to negotiate settlements, and you may hear about that today, or handle a trial in court. Our judicial externships and the Walcott and Reed fellowships are a little bit different because students aren't representing clients, but they are real live lawyering experiences on the clerkship end. And that is primarily conducting legal research, drafting opinions or bench memos, observing trials, and engaging in other skill building and experiences that an actual clerk for the court would engage in while they're out in their first year of practice. So those are just a couple of ideas about the things that you might do while you're here at law school, whether it is through a clinic or an externship opportunity. So I'm going to turn things over to Professor Zwolak Kilian to talk about the experiences that you may have before you do a clinic or an externship or during, potentially. So she'll talk a little bit about the Public Interest Resource Center, and then we'll turn this over to our students so you can actually hear about their real life experiences in some of these programs.
Thank you, Dana. And I will be quick, but it's fun to sit back and be reminded of all the wonderful opportunities that are offered. It really is. So pro bono is a little bit different. So pro bono is, pro bono publico, for the public good. So this is volunteer legal work. So you will not be receiving academic credit or compensation otherwise. So that's one of the big differences. And then also the commitment level can be different. This can be a commitment volunteer legal work that you're doing for one day, such as helping to prepare wills at a Wills for Heroes event. helping, the EMT, the firefighters that need wills. Or it could be something that you do take on for the semester and the whole year, depending on what the agency's needs are. So at the Public Interest Resource Center, I sit down with students and I try to find pro bono work that best fits your interest and your availability, what skill sets you're trying to acquire, your passions, maybe different areas of law you want to explore. So I have just a couple of notes I want to share. First of all, the various areas of law, and there's really no limitation. This could be environmental law, immigration, juvenile, landlord tenant, new artists that need contracts, veterans. I mean, you name the area of law and there's something available for you pro bono wise. And then the benefits go on and on. Not only is it a great resume builder for employers to see that you've been engaging in different areas of law and experiences, and of course, the number one, you're going to help the community. But you're also going to start learning maybe what areas of law you like and don't like, what experiences you enjoy, maybe more transactional versus litigation. Maybe you have a newfound love for, working with the elderly that you didn't realize you had, or working with juveniles. And so this is a way you can kind of dip your toes into different areas of law and get those real life experiences. You're also going to develop all sorts of practical legal skills, no matter what area of law you end up landing in. They'll easily transfer over. So you're going to be honing in on your different skills that maybe you're learning in the classroom and then applying out in your pro bono work. It's important to note that when you're engaging in pro bono work, you are working with licensed practicing attorneys. So you are getting that supervision, and just also learning how to be a professional with other legal professionals. So that's kind of like the basics of pro bono work. You can begin at beginning your second semester of law school, so long as you have a 2.3 or greater GPA. And then otherwise, anyone can begin engaging beginning summer after your first year of law school. And that can be during the summertime, evenings, some business hours, remote, in person, all sorts of opportunities. But you can learn a lot more about pro bono work if you go to our website. So if you even just Google Delaware Law School Public Interest Resource Center, it'll pop up, and there's all sorts of information, including some links that you can go to on the ABA's American Bar Association directory, which shows you all sorts of different pro bono opportunities. And of course, when you come to the law school, I hope that you will come visit me and set up a meeting so we can talk about exciting opportunities for you.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, so now you're going to hear from the people that you really want to hear from, and that's the students who are having these experiences. So I'm going to turn everything over to Erica. She's going to talk a little bit about her experience in the judicial externship program, and then she will turn it over to Matthew and so on.
Thank you. So I just want to start with my overall experience working at the Delaware Superior Court as a judicial extern. So for me, it's been very positive. I think the most fun part about it is you get to really have a mix of real world experience with legal issues compared to the legal issues you're presented with in class. As a 3L, I can tell you when you get there, it's much better to not sit in class all day, every day, as you did for the past 2 years. So that is the most fun part about it. For me personally, it helped me decide my immediate post-grad path, which is to do a clerkship. So that's always fun when you do something in law school and it leads to what you actually want to do after. And I would recommend to every law student to participate in some type of externship, whether it's the public interest or the judicial one or any of the clinics, or any of the other opportunities for at least a year. And that's because for a semester, you learn a lot and it's great, but your entire last year of law school is really the time to kind of go out and move beyond the classroom and really get that experience that you just aren't going to get in a classroom. I mean, the classroom part is very important, obviously, but once it comes to your third year, you're really going to want to branch out because that's where you learn even more, and that's what's going to set you in the right path once you do graduate. So I'm just talking about some skills that I learned. So specifically for judicial externships, Dean Harrington Connor already mentioned some of them, but you're really gonna hone in on your research skills and just writing in general, which is probably the most important skill to have as an attorney. No matter what you do or where you go, you will be writing. So it's better to kind of get as much practice as you can before you graduate. And you will be taking, legal writing courses, 3 semesters worth, and hopefully have internships over the summer where you will be writing. So it won't be anything that's super unfamiliar, but you definitely will be challenged and have more complex things to write than you have in the past. So beyond that, I mean, I get to read files. I have to read them in depth. I have to organize, important versus non-important information, how to present legal issues in different legal papers, like a memo or an opinion. You really just have to learn how to digest more information that spans a lot more than you would in any type of class like contracts or torts or something like that. And then you'll come to know blue booking, which is just citations, which those are not very fun, but you will definitely get really good at those. And this is all just an environment that fosters everything you learn from law school, which gives you the building steps for it. And then when you go into a judicial externship, you get to actually use those skills and broaden them. And the best part about it is you have your judge has a law clerk, and then you're the intern. So you have a lot of people who can help you along the way. Whenever I write something, my judge gives me feedback on it. And, people's law clerks, sometimes they meet with them before they send it to their judge and whatnot. And so you get to really hear from someone who's so important, a judge, about what they think about your writing and how to improve, which is invaluable, right? And even their law clerk who, has already graduated, passed the bar in that position, also writing for the judge, they're a great resource too. And learning from them is also invaluable. Another cool thing is that since you are the person writing for the judge or writing to help them with an opinion or something, you get to read the parties in the case, their briefing, or you get to hear their oral arguments. And specifically, you read a lot about what they brief, but that's important because you get to read other attorneys' writings and, take the good things that they write or the bad things. You could say, I really like that argument they made, how they wrote it. So you get multiple people where you get to learn really well how to write and how to structure legal documents, which again is one of the most important skills I think is to being an attorney. And I wanted to touch on some things that I think are super valuable doing an externship, which has already been mentioned. It really helps you determine what area of law you want to pursue and not pursue. I'm really into criminal law. I always have been, but some people who do the externship don't exactly know what they want to do. And especially in the Delaware Superior Court, you get experience with criminal and civil law, which is great. The judges do both. So that goes to my next point. You get to watch all different kinds of legal proceedings, which you get to see effective and non-effective lawyering, which will always be pointed out by the judge. So you'll know if you sit in a civil hearing and you're just not really into it, but if you go to a criminal one or criminal trial and you really like it, it kind of gets you to see what do lawyers right now do. From the judge's standpoint, you get to see what they do, and then in the courtroom, you get to see, how they advocate. So that's a great thing. Your judge will always encourage you to go watch something in court, which I think is great because there's never a time in the future where you're going to have this much free time to just go sit in court all day. And then, yeah, it just opens your eyes to how different, the legal world is compared to law school, which isn't a bad thing, but there is only so much you can learn in a classroom. So if you're not getting out there and taking advantage of the lawyer-like things that you can do through an externship, that really reassured me that, I was meant to go to law school and like become a lawyer. And then just some professionalism and growth things I wanted to touch on. I definitely feel much more confident in my skills and abilities as a lawyer. And I think that's because of doing the judicial externship. I was very unsure um, last summer when I was applying, and now I'm so glad I did it. It's the perfect place to make mistakes. There's no grade involved. You're not worried about, a final exam messing up. It's a constant learning process with your judge, and you get to become closer with them. It definitely helps you feel more comfortable interacting with authority, especially judges, because one day you will have to interact with one of them, whether that's in a courtroom or as a clerk. Um, and then I think the most important professionalism aspect of a judicial externship is the immense opportunities to make connections, not just when you go to the externship, you're, sitting with a bunch of other interns, some from Delaware Law, some not. Um, they have clerks and they're clerking for judges. So that's a lot of people within 20 feet of you that can become a connection that you can have for a long time. And then in the seminar class that goes along with the externship, Dean Harrington Connor brings in a bunch of judges from, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, to speak and kind of help you in the first couple weeks with what are judges expecting. So those are all really great things about it. And I will turn it over to Matthew.
Thank you, Erica. And I have to say, I agree with everything she says, particularly regarding the fact that by your 3L year, you are definitely not going to want to be in the classroom anymore. You're going to want to get out and do something. And personally, for me, the criminal defense clinic was that outlet, and it was the greatest and most rewarding experience of my life. Just to give you a little overview of the clinic, it is hands-on. You are the first chair of your case. So you will be conducting everything. You have a supervising attorney who does approve everything that you do, but you do everything. You get in contact with the client, you prepare a preliminary hearing, you conduct a preliminary hearing if there is one, negotiate with the DA, and if it gets to the point where you have to do a trial, you'll be conducting the trial too. And for me, as I said, most rewarding experience in my life, and the amount of skills that I learned during it are invaluable. Prior to the clinic, I never really had an exposure to the courtroom. I never really went in there. I never saw anything. I didn't really even know how things operated, which was ironic for me because I was in my last year of law school and I had absolutely no idea how things ran. And now, after completing the clinic, I feel like I could go into a courtroom and successfully conduct a full trial if I had it to. So, an amazing experience overall and an extremely rewarding experience overall. Meeting the clients, and I think it's something that you cannot get unless you do the clinic, is actually connecting with these people and getting to meet them and getting to know them, not on a personal level, on a professional level. Obviously, I only knew my clients a handful of times, but to meet them, to understand them, to see them as a person is a very rewarding experience. And I'll never forget the end of the clinic. We had to represent someone. It was a very simple final incident. We just had to go in to essentially just plead guilty to a very minor charge. And we managed to get the fees of the charge waived away. And we left the courtroom. And I'll never forget, she immediately hugged me and my partner in the clinic and started crying. And in that moment, I realized this is exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to represent people, help people, and try to be that wall that some people really rely on and need. And that is something in the clinic I've experienced and found out. Skills wise, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn how to write. You're going to learn how to draft. You're going to learn how to talk. And you're going to learn how to deal with the stress of being in a courtroom, especially when you're in front of a judge for the first time. I'll never forget being in front of a judge and thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm going to pass out right here. This is it. This is game over. But, when you finally start talking, you'll see that you're prepared for the clinic and you're going to get a lot of great experience for that. I also was benefited in doing the Inside Out experience, which I'm currently doing now, which is another thing I highly recommend doing, especially if you're doing the criminal defense clinic. I think the two really mesh well together. Just to give you a little summary of the Inside Out experience, you go to a correctional facility and you engage with prisoners or individuals who are incarcerated within the facility. And it is such a rewarding experience, just like the criminal defense clinic. You once again connect with people, in this case, individuals who have been incarcerated for crimes, and it's very eye-opening. You really get to see their experiences. You get to understand perhaps some faults that exist within the system, and it really humanizes people. And I definitely think if you're interested in criminal law in general, particularly criminal defense, both of these experiences are something that you should try your hardest to get into and do, because it's, as I said before I started, it's the most rewarding experience I've ever done in my life. And I genuinely feel like I can be a lawyer, I can represent people, I can help people, and I can understand them, which I think is something that's extremely important for any lawyer to understand, is to understand your client more than anything. So I'm not going to take up too much more time because, frankly, I know myself. I could talk about the criminal defense clinic for 2 hours, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to pass it over to Christina now.
Thank you, Matthew. I will start with Inside Out because I'm also in the Inside Out program. And I can't even emphasize enough everything Matthew has said. We're actually in it together. Um, I I'm not I don't like school. Everybody, my classmates are cackling because they know I don't like school. I've never been. But this is hands down the best class I have ever been in my life. I actually think it should be mandatory in law school, simply because you learn a different perspective that you probably haven't even seen before. And you actually, some of the classes, you get to put yourself into their shoes. How can you represent a client if you truly don't know what they have even been through? Um, you get to hear their stories and you really get to interact. And they become our friends. They're really nice, and they also tell you what they're looking for in a lawyer, which is super important because a lot of times what you will learn, clients don't always tell you everything right away. Sometimes it takes digging, so you have to learn to build that trust in order to represent them to your full capacity. And I know, like yesterday, one of the inside students told me that he thought I'd be a great lawyer, and I'm going to run with that for the rest of my life, honestly. Because especially me becoming, I was a prior police officer. Everybody knows that people incarcerated don't like police officers, and they know that about me. And for them to say that, that just like truly probably made my law school experience. So that's all I'll say on that because I can also talk about that all day. Um, Next, I'm also in the Veterans Law Clinic. I went in with the idea of really just doing it for a semester. It was 6 credit hours, which is a lot, and it's 6 credit hours that I do not have to sit my butt in a classroom. So I truly loved that. However, now 2 years later, I'm still in it, and now I'm doing it pro bono. And then I decided that I'm going to be doing veterans law as well as criminal law on the side. And have been looking at, I told my veterans law clinic, I don't think they can get rid of me. Like I'm staying whether they like me or not. Um, and at the Veterans Law Clinic, what we do is we do disability ratings and appeals. We do wills for vets. We do a caregiver program. So for vets that are disabled that really their loved ones are working and they're in unsafe conditions because they have to be financially supported. There's a caregiver program where the VA will actually pay their loved ones to take care of them and hopefully provide them the support that frankly they're owed and they need because they wouldn't have been like this had they not have served our country. We also, sometimes depending on space, we will do dishonorable discharges. And then we also do legal problems that vets come across with either the VA or Social Security. For instance, I worked on a case last summer where it was actually with the Delaware lottery because a veteran didn't know that he couldn't claim his pension, Social Security, and then a lottery check because, yeah, that's the law. So we get to do all of those. We also get to argue in court. We're pretty much the first chair attorney and the only attorney besides our supervisor, and we meet with her once a week. She's also absolutely phenomenal. When I started law school, my writing wasn't the greatest, and now I have the confidence to do anything writing wise because it's solely because of her, not because of anybody else. It's really because of her. So I can't recommend her enough. And the Veterans Law Clinic, because you do a lot of writing. You probably do the most writing because really the VA, everything's digital. So you have to write, you have to be a strong writer to get your point across, because they don't offer hearings, and sometimes hearings are like a year or two delayed, which sounds crazy, but it is. So honestly, a student probably 2 years from now will have your same case. So your writing is really important too for that. Um, we also, our clients are, they have a lot of trauma. So you really learn trauma-informed lawyering when it comes to that. And I actually have become like I love all of my clients. They are so amazing. They've taught me also how to set boundaries as an attorney, which I think is very huge because I'm one that will work all day and all night. And they will call you all day and all night, veterans, like if you let them. So I had to learn boundaries. And I will say I'm also a hands-on learner, which I know Erica talked about, which is great because me sitting in a classroom looking at a board wasn't really for me. I had to learn, and I had to learn how to file documents, and I had to learn how to really interact with clients, because that's what we're going to do as lawyers. In the classroom can't teach you that. So really it's invaluable experience. And I will say, after working in both this sector and the private sector, um, all the clinic advisors are 1,000 times nicer than a lot of attorneys on the private sector. I'm sorry. I will say that they're amazing. I haven't met one that I don't like, and I will tell y'all. And they give you such good mentorship and guidance. And they give you job opportunities because their old students love them that much that they reach out to them, which then give you job opportunities. So I feel like that's saying a lot. Yeah, so I think that's really all. I think I covered everything for the VA. So I'm not sure who's next. I'm sorry. I think
That's
Delmary.
me.
Yes, Delmary.
Hi, everyone. Again, Dalmiri, and I'm mainly here to talk about my pro bono work on campus. My pro bono work is scattered all throughout. Every time Professor Kilian sends an email, we need somebody to volunteer. I'm usually the first person raising my hand. I volunteer a lot with the Delaware Volunteer Legal Services on campus, and we primarily handle domestic violence cases. And we do have an attorney that does some of the special immigrant youth um, visas, which we work on that as well sometimes, but mainly it's domestic violence calls. Um, it's it's very hands-on because it's an intake center. So we're receiving calls all throughout the day, and sometimes it's people who are filing a protection order, a PFA, and they need representation, and they have a hearing in 2 weeks. And so you're communicating with potential clients, you're doing intakes, which means that you're listening to every single detail of their story, and you're figuring out what's going to help the volunteer attorney handle that case the best. So that's a huge part of it. And then it's also analyzing the calls that don't have anything to do with domestic violence. And that's when all of your legal training that you took, 1L and 2L, are going to help you figure out what's the right resource to direct them to. Because we're not attorneys, we can't provide legal advice, but we can tell people where to go. So you really familiarize yourself with all of the pro bono services in the area, what agencies can help somebody figure out their legal matters, what attorneys in the area offer for affordable rates or can do an intake for that person, even if it's not a domestic violence issue. And then I also have volunteered with the Light Scholars, which is the Leadership Youth Through Empowerment program. And it's a set of like high school, and I think one time it was middle school students, but mostly high school students who come on campus and visit Delaware Law. And you sometimes get to sit on hearings with them and explain to them what they heard the attorneys argue, and then you also get to answer their questions. These are students who potentially want to get on the law school track. And so I do volunteer with that as well. My interests, my personal interests, and after law school, I will be in private practice. So I will be doing transactional law, but I think it's so important to give back because law is a service career. You're representing and you're advocating for people, and you're representing and you're advocating for communities. So I try to do it as much as possible because I know that I won't be in the public interest all the time. So when I do get to be in it, I try to dedicate and do as good of a job that I can. But I also am the president of LALSA, and Professor Kilian supported us last semester with our first ever immigration law clinic at Delaware Law School, where we did the naturalization clinic. It was 4 days long, and we helped in 5 different locations in Delaware and in Pennsylvania people apply for their naturalization exam to become citizens of the United States. So in any way that you can exercise communication skills, client intake, research, and just talking to people, I think it's so important to take advantage of that because it's not something that you do learn in the classroom, but something that you learn hands-on, helping others and doing pro bono services. And I will open the rest of the time for questions because I know we're running kind of close.
No, we're right on time, and I want to take a quick pause to thank you all for sharing your experiences and your honest assessment of the experiences you've had, because I know that's what our students here are so eager to learn about. And so on that note, and with the time we have left, I do want to open it to questions from our accepted students here in the audience. So again, if you want to put stuff in the chat, if you want to raise your hand on Zoom, we're a pretty friendly bunch. So if you just want to unmute and jump in and ask your question, it can be directed to a certain student or one of the professors or anything that's on your mind. This is your opportunity with all of us, Delaware Law folks in the room, to help you kind of learn more as you're considering joining us. So any and all questions, don't be shy.
And as we're waiting for people to ask questions, I just want to say how proud I am as a member of the faculty and as a dean to hear these students speak. I mean, not only are they amazing students, leaders at the law school, incredible externs or clinic students, and volunteering their limited time, right? They're so busy, and yet they're volunteering to do such important work. And they're all amazing public speakers. I mean, just incredible speakers, and in the way that they explain the work that they're doing. I just am, so proud of them for what they do and their willingness to come here today and share this information and their experiences with you. So don't hesitate to ask questions. You can unmic or put something in the chat. We're excited to provide information to you to the best of our ability, and or you can reach out to us later as well.
We have a question through the chat. Could you talk about how externships work for part-time students? And so Dean Harrington, Connor, I'll probably start with you here.
Absolutely. So we, as I had said at the beginning, we have added 2 new clinics. So for students who might be part-time, either because they are working during the day and going to school at night, our 2 new clinics are ED clinics. So they're for night students, or I call them extended division students because that's what we used to call them, students who might be working full time who would want to have a clinic experience. And so they can either work in our Dignity Rights Advocacy Clinic that is geared towards an extended division student, so they can do their work at night or on the weekends. And then our new Wheels for Seniors clinic that will start for the first time in the fall. Students will be working in the evening and on the weekends if they have availability to work with seniors and the terminally ill who are seeking those wills, powers of attorney, and healthcare directives. And then there are some externship experiences that are geared more towards part-time students who have full-time jobs. So I would say this as Professor Zwolak Kilian already said, which is come and see me. I am open to all kinds of possibilities. If you are a regular division student or a part-time student and you want to have an experience, we're going to figure out a way to make sure that happens for you, whether it be in-house with a clinic or with an externship experience that we can kind of put together that's more personal for you, depending on your needs and your availability.
Other questions? Quiet group here tonight, but Also feel free, and I don't want to put the students on the spot, but feel free to, if you have more questions. I know that experiential learning probably seems a little far out in the distance, because it is something you do as an upper level student, but feel free to ask these students about how, they manage their time. I mean, in fact, I might ask you all that question. If you want to share with how it is you do all these amazing things, how is it that you're all successful students and involved in multiple experiential learning opportunities? I assume you do other things. So wondering if maybe you could talk about that, because I think students would be interested to hear that.
I would love to talk about this. Time management is important. You can say no to some things. I'll start with that. You can say no sometimes to some things, but it's also there's a level of the things that you prioritize and how you are able to touch all of the things that you want to. And sometimes that means saying no for the fall semester, but saying yes for the spring, or deciding that maybe this week I won't participate in this, but next week I can. Like, you don't have to be involved in 20 things every single day of your 12-week semester. You can you have to find the delicate balance, because the grades are not everything, but to me they're important. They're not everything, but you have to try to do your best, because that's how you stay here and you stay on campus as a student. So always just check in with yourself, set the boundaries like Christina said, make sure that you're doing the things to make sure you're a functioning member of the campus, and then you can be a part of the things that you want to be. But sometimes that means that you can't be a part of it every single semester, or you can't do it every single week. You just got to find the balance, and know that from the beginning of the semester, you are a time management king and queen. It is the most important part of being a law student.
I will jump off of Delmiri, because also lots of calendars. I think I have like 3 calendars constantly going, and block scheduling. Like for example, I take clients on right now Wednesdays and Fridays, because those are my easier days, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays I focus on nothing but class. Granted, I'm a 3L and I'm graduating in May, so your schedule won't look like that at first. But yeah, I think that is super important, having a calendar and writing everything down, color coding, um, with all that, because you don't just have jobs now, you'll also have orgs. Like Delmiri and I are on e-boards for 2 of the most active orgs on campus. So that's also time consuming. So really just everything gets a time, and try and keep it that way. So then you build that routine in every semester. It's okay to change your routine. You're gonna have to, because you'll have different classes and different jobs.
I think that's great advice. We have some more questions that have come through the chat. The first one is, are externships clinics primarily in Delaware? How far does the reach extend as far as connections go? Again, Dean Harrington Connor, I don't know if you want to speak to this a little
Sure, I'm
bit.
happy to do that. So, with our clinics, some do work in Delaware, some do work in Pennsylvania, and then our environmental law clinic handles cases very far reach: Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland. And then our externships are, limitless. During the academic year, students have to be close enough to be able to both be in their law classes and do their experience. So typically Delaware, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New Jersey, anywhere that's drivable between the law school and the experience. So some students will take their classes 2 days a week and then do their externship 3 other days a week. So that's possible. And then in the summer, it's even much broader. So students in the summer, the course that goes along with the externship is remote. And that's something that the dean has allowed us to do now, starting this summer, where students who are in the experience while they're taking the course, they can Zoom into the course just during the summer, and then they can have their externship anywhere in the country. And we're actually talking about some international externships is in the works for the future. So that's pretty exciting. Stay tuned on that. So you could be working in California for the summer, doing an externship with a judge or a public interest agency, and Zoom into the seminar component of the class, or anywhere in the United States or perhaps beyond. So there are lots of opportunities. It's a little more tight for the academic year, just because you'll be taking classes and traveling to your experience. So it's, as long as you can get there 2 to 3 days a week, that's fine. I will very likely approve a request for an externship, provided you can both take your classes and have your experience.
We have another question. We have another question that I think touches on something that you have said before, but maybe if you could expand on it a little bit. Are there opportunities to work with firms, clinics we already have a relationship with ones that are not part of the school's personal, either clinics or externship placements?
So are you saying law firms or public interest agencies?
I'm not sure, Michaela, if you're talking about law firms.
Okay, law firm. So we are, this is interesting because we had a dean's meeting today, and this came up afterwards with the dean, that we're talking about expanding potentially to law firms. So right now our externships are judicial and public interest. But there are some schools that are now moving towards allowing for students to work in law firms. So we're kind of in the midst of discussing what that might look like. And so remember, for these experiences, unlike when you're working with professors Zwolak, Kilian, where it's not for credit, there are some requirements that go along with these experiences. And so we have to approve the programs outside the law school to make sure that the supervision is such that it's an educational component. And so that's part of what we're looking at in terms of law firms, but it's something that we are considering doing in the very near future.
Thank you for that. I see Heather Hope has a question in the up the top here.
Yes, so someone sent a question to me. Are there any clinic or externship opportunities relating to corporate law or financial law?
So we do have some nonprofits that kind of spill into that, which is hospitals, for instance. There are legal departments where they are considered public interest externships, and we do have some corporations such as like AstraZeneca, for example, where students would work in their corporate law department. So there are some opportunities for that currently. Did I cover everything in that question?
Yeah, no, and I should note too for students to know, we're just talking about clinics and externship programs, which are largely opportunities to get academic credit while you're kind of in school, but that doesn't include internship opportunities. So you can pursue, any number of opportunities that you're interested in over the summers, even during the semester. It just wouldn't be for academic credit. And so, I was a first-gen law student. I didn't know the difference between an externship and an internship, but there are some distinctions, and it's really that academic credit piece. So if there's something that you're not finding, well, first of all, reach out to us. We can try to help connect you to the right thing. But certainly, remember that we have a robust career development office with robust offerings for those kinds of placements for internships as well.
If I could just shamelessly plug something real quick.
Go for it, always.
Delaware Law has so many amazing organizations and honor societies as well for students. If you have a specific interest, you can receive academic credits for the Transactional Law Honor Society and for the Corporate Journal. Those are organizations that you do need to meet a 2.7 GPA requirement for, but I am a member of the Transactional Law Honor Society as well, and it's super rewarding, and it does offer academic credit as well.
Thank you for saying that, and Carly as well, because I think that's something, we're focused on experiences primarily for academic credit in addition to pro bono. But you're right, our career development office, lots of opportunities in the corporate field, internships, and you can't start too early planning. I have first years who reach out to me, and between Dean McDonald and myself, we're trying to figure out plans for students starting as early as their first year. And I know Professor Zwolak, Kilian gets involved as well. You might, in your first summer out, want to work for a corporation or a law firm, and then maybe your second summer you're going to work for a judge, or into your second or third year. So there are lots and lots and lots of opportunities that we haven't talked about here, that you certainly can start planning the moment you get to the law school. But obviously in that first year, focus on your classes too, because we want you to do well and have success in law school and have a good foundation for the bar as well. Other questions?
And this might be a good moment real quickly to plug our event on Friday. So Friday is Accepted Applicant Community Day. Many of the offices that we're talking about that you might want to connect with will be there to chat with. So for instance, career development, you have questions, they'll be there. So definitely make sure if you haven't already registered for that, you want to sign up on our website and join us, because I think that will be a lot of other great information. There is another question in the chat. Well, first a note to thanks for everyone for the tips and students for sharing your wonderful experiences. Very helpful. They absolutely are. I have a question, however, not closely related, as how do you think the next gen bar exam will impact us, and perhaps how Delaware Law's curriculum has adapted or plans to adapt its curriculum in response to this changes, if any?
So we, as a member of the Dean's Leadership Team, we talk a lot about the next gen bar exam, and our faculty is very invested in ensuring that our students are going to be prepared for that. And a lot of us are really excited about the next gen bar exam because we think it is more representative of legal practice. So I think it's going to be a good change when it does come about, as jurisdictions decide whether to move to the next gen bar exam. I think it will be a positive for our future generation of bar test takers, if that helps answer that question. But we are getting ready for it, for sure.
I wanted to
Absolutely,
jump in really
absolutely.
quick.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go for it.
I don't think any of the topics, like the core topics you take your 1L year, are changing for the next gen bar. I could be wrong, but the core ones you take, I think, are still the same. I think the only topics that are changing is for currently as it stands for UBE, any topics that could show up on an essay on the bar exam. There are additional topics beyond your core classes that Delaware Law offers as an elective. Those could show up currently, but I think on the next gen, they have taken away a couple of those sort of elective courses. So I don't think it changes the core curriculum. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Also, our dean has a huge model right now, which is we will pass on the first try. So I guarantee you will be okay with the next gen bar because everybody's working overtime to make sure that we pass this.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know we're kind of right on time here, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So, if you have other questions that we didn't get to or things you think of later, please don't hesitate to contact the admissions office. We can connect you to anybody if we don't have the answer. And I know I'm happy to stay on a few minutes after we hit stop on the recording if anybody has any specific questions. But because I want to kind of keep to our schedule, I just want to say thank you again to our accepted students for being here tonight. We're so excited, for you to start this journey with us, and hope that you'll be joining us in the fall. We also hope that you'll be joining us for the rest of Accepted Applicant Month. So that includes our final virtual session on Thursday, which is going to feature our student affinity group leaders, and focus on our commitment to belonging here at Delaware Law School. So a really great conversation that I hope you'll want to be part of. And then, as I mentioned on Friday, our Accepted Applicant Community Day, I believe Heather Hope put the link in the chat. If you haven't already registered, it's going to be a lot of fun. It features a faculty panel, which is going to give you insights into, our faculty's journey to law school, but also what their classes are like and what the first year, what you can expect. There's going to be a campus tour, which will be really great, and then opportunities to meet and greet with our student service offices, our student honor societies and journals, and to mix and mingle with each other, your future classmates. So we really hope you can join us. We're really looking forward to that event. And then just a quick thank you again to our professors, our students here, who are incredible and so generous with your time and willingness to share your perspectives. Again, I think it's really helpful for our incoming students to see all the wonderful things that you're all doing, so they can see themselves doing that one day. So I just want to say thank you again, and take care. We'll see you next time.
If our student speakers could just stay on for a minute, if you have a